Professor Edward Kisiangani, who you're well acquainted with. We have Dr. Chris Wamalwa, he's a Kiminini Member of Parliament. Next to him, LSK Chair Eric Mutua and TNA Chairman Johnson Sakaja, who finally made it to the show. Apparently, he didn't have lunch and was fasting for Kenya. So he alleged. But let's discuss the rights of the worker. And I want to start with you, Mutua.
Yes.
What is your take on the labor movement, and have they been able to really articulate workers' rights? I know there's a lot of legislation in place, but we still see many companies not really following through the law, and they seem to get away with it. Why?
Well, I think to some extent, the labor movement has been able to agitate the rights of workers. But of course, you can't compare what is happening currently with what was happening about 15 years back. There's a way in which I think the labor movement is more interested in politics than probably the interests of the workers, because you've seen a lot of politicking in terms of different labor unions taking positions, and I think that is not very good for the movement itself.
Wamalwa, where does this leave the worker? Who speaks for the Kenyan worker in this country?
I think so far the labor movement in this country, I can say they've done fairly, because looking at where they're coming from and also looking at the conditions under which they're operating, actually they're very difficult. If you can imagine, without the labor movement in this country, look at, for instance, about the teachers. So much was promised to them, nothing was being done by the successive governments, but actually they've managed to agitate for their rights. When you look at the Central Organization of Trade Unions, Atwoli has tried so much. If you know what's going on at the NSSF, we've seen him been fighting. So you can imagine a situation, if he was not there, things will be very bad. So I can say, with the circumstances that they're in, that they're operating in, they've done well, and there's room for further improvement.
Prof, do you agree?
No. I think to some extent, he talks about Atwoli and NSSF. Some of the scandals that have taken place in the NSSF took place when Atwoli was the Secretary General. And suddenly he changed and started fighting. I don't know what has happened. But I think what I need to say is that they have achieved some modest achievements, especially for the unions that are from Busetu. They have some tangible achievements that you can quote for the teachers. He has talked about the civil servants and, of course, even university lecturers. But when you look at the other affiliates, especially of Kotu, you saw the story of that watchman. It is so much noise, so much dance on the stage, so much blings, but very little for the workers to show, I think. And that's probably what has forced the other group to move out. But I wanted to also add something else, and whoever misused the young kid to bring the young kid to sing, to recite poems, supporting one faction or one individual.
I'm sorry, Professor, I have to cut you short because I understand there's a technical hitch with your microphone. We'll try and fix that. I apologize for that. Sakaja, let me come to you. Mutua had referred to the glory days, if you like, of the labor movement. What will it take to return it there so that the workers actually benefit from being unionizable?
I think I must say that the labor movement in Kenya has really tried, despite a lot of challenges, as my colleagues have said. But for a labor movement to be effective, one, it must be, first of all, fully independent of any other forces, be it government, be it different lobbyists, whether it is the employers, etc. So we need to see more of the independence. Second, they must be democratic. We need to make sure they're inclusive and that the workers actually feel represented. I don't know how often they're able to hold the elections, how often they do they consult the members, because the deliverables that labor movements have are based on the bargaining by their members. And I think finally our labor movements need to be more strategic in how they interact either with government or how they interact with with parliament, etc. That they should not always resort to mass action or industrial action, where dialogue can actually give them. So I think I'll give them a clean bill of health, but I think they can be, they can live up to the times, create more strategic alliances, more strategic partnerships with different centers of influence in the country, and make the workers actually feel represented.